Hey, what is going on, truth lovers? And welcome back to, unfortunately, the courtroom that we had to cheat to get progression on last episode. So, let's see what happens. So, you're saying that on the night in question, the victim was wielding a gun, is that correct? That's it, Gov, you got the picture. He has now, she has, no question. And yet, photographic evidence obtained immediately after the incident clearly shows that he was not holding a firearm of any description. Ah, damn. We should have thought a bit more carefully about that. You what? Damn it, yeah, we should have just actually thoroughly examined all the evidence rather than just reading the quick examination. Gordon Bennett, that ain't right.
There can be no question that the victim's revolver was used in the incident. I would remind the court that Winterbank's gun was found at the scene.
Oh yeah, of course.
Not only was it identified as the murder weapon, but it was found in the accused's hand.
Shocking. Yeah, that Multooler used the victim's own gun to finish him off. Give me that gun. Bam! Kind of thing. Hold it! Stay exactly where you are, right there. Eh? If the crime had taken place as you so colourfully described in your testimony, it would give rise to an undeniable and significant inconsistency in the final moments you just acted out.
Goodness, are you sure, counsel?
You intrigue me, my learned friend, but let's see some evidence to support your claim.
Ah, the map.
Where is the proof that demonstrates this inconsistency in the witness's portrayal of the victim's final moments?
Right, I think it is the map here. Yeah, because as soon as we got this map, I was just like, notice the positioning. Thankfully we can save here, so let's do it. All hail the safety save. Let's go.
Take that!
I believe this is all the proof you need. Oh, maybe not.
Unfortunately not. I require proof that actually proves something you see.
Ugh, I knew it was a long shot.
It would appear that you have failed to grasp even the bare bones of this case.
Yeah, it does seem like it. We hit a brick wall really early last episode.
Perhaps your level of intellect is better suited to the theatricals of these witnesses than advocacy.
Damn, that cuts deep. Sorry? No, stop that nonsense, you arseholes. Now is not the time when we're losing lives. Want to take the stage with, I say? You could be sulky if you like. Ah! Okay. Nash, Ringo and Sulky's Kabuki theatre troupe. No, it would never take off.
I believe the counsel for the defense still wishes to pursue his career in the court, Six.
You intrigue me.
Oh, yeah. Cool. We're just looping it here. Okay, so not the map. Could it just be the picture again? Or the autopsy report, potentially. Where is that? See, we're shot in the back. Maybe?
Take that!
According to their testimony, the witnesses claim to have heard a shout of "Give me that gun," followed by the gunshot.
Indeed, with the two events happening almost simultaneously, or so we've been led to believe.
Yes, that's right. Now, if that testimony is true, it would mean that at the moment of death, the victim and his attacker would have been facing each other. However, in the autopsy report, nice, this is looking good. It clearly states that the victim died instantly after being shot from behind. So, as I stated before, there is an undeniable inconsistency in your testimony, Skulkins. Yeah. Got him. But it's the God's honest truth. It is, Nash, it is. When he was shot that night. The shopkeeper had a gun in his hand. We saw it with our own bleeding eyes. Did I hear you right just now? You actually saw him holding a gun? Something like that might have slipped out. Ladies and gentlemen, you have all just heard the admission by these two witnesses that on the night in question they actually saw with their own eyes the victim wielding a gun. Which can only mean that despite their testimony to the contrary, the Skulkin brothers must have encountered the victim in person. Yeah, because who shot the calendar? Nash, meow.
Order! 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 Witnesses, explain yourselves at once!
Well, the thing is, it was supposed to,
It would seem that my previous warning fell on deaf ears. I made it quite clear that false witnesses would be the death of you.
Death.
Am I to understand that you replaced the untruths of your original testimony with renewed lies?
Ever so sorry, Governor. Truth is, see, we, Cut it out, Nash, cut it out! If we blab now, you know what he'll do to us. He? Who are they talking about? Do they mean Zeeks?
Let me make your position here perfectly clear. You will talk. There is no other option available to you.
Oh man, Zeeks is going for it. Bruv, come on, the game's up. But he'll have our guts for garters. In case it hasn't quite sunk in yet, no matter how hard you try to hide it, the truth will come out.
On the night in question, it is now apparent that you brothers met face to face with the victim. I demand that you testify again to explain the precise circumstances under which this meeting took place.
Well, do we have to? What a question.
On pain of death. I suggest you make yourselves fully aware that this is your very last chance to tell the truth.
Man, they are fiending to kill these guys. What is going on? Encounter with the victim. Alright, so we just got inside the gaff and heaved a sigh of relief when the geezer showed his mug. Give me that gun, he bellowed, and then he flew at us like he was possessed. I thought we'd had it. For an old geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter. I pulled my gun on him and then he legged it through that door into the back room. We never had nothing to do with killing him. That's all what happened, I swear. Interesting.
So you're now telling us that moments before the victim was killed in the storeroom, you in fact encountered him in the main part of the shop?
Well, yeah, sorry.
Well, we find ourselves at an interesting juncture. This changes matters considerably.
But honest, Governor, this time, Nash, this time, we ain't got nothing more to hide.
Very well, counsel for the defence, you may proceed with your cross-examination.
Yes, my lord. This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. Cross-examination. Damn, it did half the battle last episode, so we may as well just have to press everything. We only have 5 instead of the occasional 6 though, which is good. Hold it. When you say geezer, I presume you mean the victim and proprietor of the shop, Winterbank. Who else? Sorry, I mean, that's right. We was keeping a close eye on the entrance of the gaff, obviously, but we never thought no one is going to come out of the back room like that. The back room being the pawnbrokery storeroom? Yeah, that must be where he popped up from. Only place he could have been.
So it would seem the victim was already in the storeroom when these brothers entered the premises.
Which means Ginny must have been in there at that point as well. But that doesn't make sense, does it? If Gina had threatened him into the storeroom with her at gunpoint, then why would he have emerged from the same room all alone when the brothers arrived? Oh, I don't know. Did you see the accused at that time? What, at Maltula? Couldn't tell ya. No way, Cobber. We'd had bigger fish to fry then. I mean, the old geezer just lost it. What? Okay, one down.
Hold it!
Hold it!
You mentioned that he shouted those words in your previous testimony too. However, you claim that you heard him yelling them on the other side of the storeroom door. Oh, did we? But the truth is, he was shouting those words at you, wasn't he? Oh yeah.
Was the victim wielding a gun at the time?
Was he ever? Blimey lummy, a great ugly barrel he had pointed straight at my frontispiece. So what you're saying is, you definitely saw him with the gun at that time, is that right? It is, Gov, it is, spot on. Then all of a sudden he came at us, he did. It was bedlam, I didn't know who was going through. You were clearly all going for each other. Like Nash said, we thought we'd had it, I mean. Okay, so that last one might actually be quite important from their reaction there. Flew at us like he was possessed. Interesting.
Hold it!
Hold it. Damn, he's got the papers out for this one. This could be the right way to go. Yes, I noticed that you mentioned the counter in your previous testimony too. Well, yeah, of course we did. He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick and some skull whatnot. That got tangled in some marionette what knocked over a picture frame what knocked them scales on the floor. So in fact, it wasn't the sound of the gunshot that shocked you and made you knock those things on the counter. Well, Big Brother went flying over that counter like a gunshot, I can tell you. Then the old geezer pinned him, what? He did, Nash, he did. If you hadn't been there, the bloke would have flattened me like a blooming pancake in seconds.
At the time in question, the alarm was raised at the local police station via a secret cable from the pawnbrokery. There is a button under the counter used to activate it, which was presumably pressed by the victim.
That's right, when the brothers fled the scene and back onto the street, they ran straight into the arriving police, didn't they? Poor Winterbank, he did everything he could to protect his shop. Is this the final one? It is not.
Hold it!
Hold it. Were you intending to shoot Winterbank? No, never. I was just, looking out for me bruv, wasn't I? He was being flattened, don't forget. By a man whose shop was being burgled, yes.
And then the man fled into the storeroom when you pointed your gun at him, is that it?
Yeah, that's it. He shoved me away, then ran off through that door and shut himself in. There's something about that last remark. Something that doesn't quite ring true. I wonder why Winterbank ran away into the storeroom. What? Well, according to what everyone's saying, Ginny was in there waiting for him with a gun. Ah, yeah, that's right. Gina allegedly used his gun to threaten him and force him to open the storeroom door. In which case, how did the gun end up in his hands again? I have no idea, but that is strange, isn't it? This little inconsistency could be significant. I should make a mental note of it. Look, the point is, me and me brother here. That's right, Nash, that's right, me and me brother here. Right, guys, so it seems like statement 4 is the way to go. Yeah, that can't be true because they use their gun to shoot Sholmes. But just in case, let's press the fifth one. You say you had nothing to do with it? Nothing at all. Nothing, Gov, nothing. The old geezer went and shut himself in the back room, didn't he? Locked it was from the inside. We know it was because we tried to open it. Well, it's a decent door, that one. Good and strong. Wouldn't budge an inch.
So in the end, the situation remains unchanged. Inside the storeroom with the pawnbroker, there was only one other person. The sole person who could possibly have shot the victim, the accused.
Ah! It would indeed appear so. What say you to that, Counsel?
I don't know. Oh, yo, lucky we pressed. Was there anyone else apart from Gina who could possibly have shot them? Yeah, of course. I'm going to say there could have been. Skulkins! Aye? What? May as well hydrate while I'm sat up. What's that look for? Right guys, hella excited tonight. It is Money in the Bank pay-per-view time. What are they calling it? Premium live events these days. But yeah, bring it on. Who gets the briefcase? And will they cash it in that same night? From the moment you admitted that you'd encountered the victim face-to-face that night, the course of this trial changed completely. It did?
What is your point, my learned friend?
The question we must answer is, who could have shot Winterbank? And it is the belief of the defence that the defendant is not the only possible answer at all. I guess if you say no, it just goes back to the pressing screen, right?
You have my attention. In that case, let us return to this plan of the premises.
Ah, the old hatch or flap in the door.
The victim was killed in the storeroom, which was locked from the inside. Those are the facts, so pray, what other possible answer to the question of who shot the man could there be?
Counsel, you must now provide answers to the court in respect of two conundrums.
Two, my lord. Twice as many chances to be right, maybe?
Indeed, namely, from what location did the culprit shoot the victim? And furthermore...
I think I've already guessed this the second we got the map. So hopefully we can put that hunch to good use straight away.
Where was the victim at the time?
He would have been just in front of the hatch. Easy. Understood, my lord. Speaking of which, okay. Are you alright? I'm not entirely sure, but there's one thing I am sure about. If I can prove that there's a credible new alternative to what happened, it would change Gina's prospects hugely.
So now, time for some clarity. Show the court on this plan the answers to the questions posed by his lordship.
Okay, just in case. Ah, you did them both on the map. Perfect. Easy.
If you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate from where that person could have fired the gun.
So that'll be just in front of the door, right?
Take that!
The defence believes that the culprit could have shot the victim from this location here.
And in answer to the second question, assuming the culprit fired from the location indicated, where was the victim at the time?
So we can quickly cheat, thankfully. So just to the left of the door. Okay. Kinda like here.
Take that!
Hopefully. Don't tell me you have to be like ridiculously accurate. The culprit shot the victim from outside the storeroom.
Continue.
Winterbank died instantly from a bullet wound. I'm going to assume that said in his back. I mashed a little too quickly there. Yeah, of course. Looking at the stain of blood on the storeroom floor, it doesn't appear that the body was moved after death, which tells us that he was almost certainly shot while he was in the storeroom. However, the crucial point is, where was the shooter when the fatal bullet was fired?
So you are adamant that the shot was fired from outside the storeroom?
Well, according to the Skulkin brothers' earlier testimony, can mash it. Well, we don't have to quick mash because it's a flashback, but thankfully it was only one line. If Winterbank ran away through the door, we have to assume that the door was open at the time.
Ah!
Oh yeah, so you don't need a hatch if the door's open, of course. It was precisely at that moment when the victim was fleeing for his life that these brothers had the perfect opportunity to shoot the man in the back once he was inside the storeroom. Yeah. And then what, just like chop Gina in the back of the head so she goes unconscious or whatever, right? Come to think of it, do you remember what the prosecutor said at the start of the trial? So many flashbacks. Okay, Scotland Yard's Corona. Yes, rising diagonal. That means it was the little one that did it. Significantly shorter. Nice. Poor man, shot while he was running as fast as he could to safety. Of course, he would have been leaning forward as he was running away. So even if the bullet was fired horizontally, it would still have entered his body on an upward trajectory. So the culprit isn't necessarily someone shorter than Winterbank. Interesting.
I'm sure my learned friend can't have forgotten that the storeroom door was found closed and locked from the inside. You claim the victim was shot as he fled into the room.
If it's locked by a key, then that's fine.
Do you also claim his corpse was dexterous enough to turn the key in the lock?
But what if someone else locked the door? Yes, there is someone else who could have locked the storeroom door.
Is that so?
Very well then, counsel. Present your hypothesis to the court. In the scenario just described, the defence's assertion is that the victim was shot from outside the storeroom. In which case, who shut and locked the storeroom door from the inside?
Potentially Gina. Because if it was done from the inside... Obviously the person who locked the door was the only other person inside the storeroom at the time. The defendant.
Objection!
Maybe, trying to protect herself from getting shot.
That's absurd. You're suggesting that the accused deliberately engineered the sealed room? For what possible reason? Such actions would only serve to tighten the noose around her neck.
I am inclined to agree, I must say. Well, counsel.
Yeah, she was terrified for her life. Yes, that's a tricky one, that, isn't it?
Half-baked notions have no place in my courtroom, counsel. Remember that, please.
But of course Ginny would have locked the door. It almost goes without saying, doesn't it? It does. Well, if I was Ginny in that situation, I know I would have locked the door as quickly as I could. I mean, those two burglars had just fired a gun in her direction, hadn't they? Oh yes, obviously. Before the two brothers arrived, they were in the storeroom together. Now, I don't know what went on between them at that time, but at some point Winterbank must have heard the intruders breaking into his shop and left the storeroom. Intruders, eh? That's us, bruv.
If your theory is correct, that would leave the accused alone in the storeroom.
Yes, it would. Then, probably only moments later, the victim fled back through the storeroom door, hoping to escape danger. Bang! And the dirt is gone. Hit in the back by the bullet, Winterbank fell to the floor where he was, just inside the storeroom. And what we have to ask ourselves now is, what would the defendant have done in that moment? I see where you're going with this. Outside the Sora was a terrifying killer who had just murdered him. As soon as that thought struck the defendant, she slammed the door shut and locked it in order to save her own life. But we ain't the ones who done it. We ain't, Gov, we ain't. You gotta believe us. I mean, come on, we'd never shoot no one. That's blatantly untrue. I know for a fact that you would, because before my very own eyes, you shot Herlock Sholmes. There is only one logical conclusion here. Skulkins, you brothers had every opportunity to have been the true perpetrators of Winterbank's murder. Yeah. Very tasty progression, guys. So, where does this leave us? You mean to say it wasn't a pickpocket who shot the pawnbroker after all? I should have known it was those three brothers. They look as shady as a dense forest.
That was amazing, Runo. All the members of the jury seem to be firmly on your side now.
I know, first time ever, and probably the last. Yep, it is the final case.
Well, I think you've done it. Surely they'll have to give a verdict of not.
Here we go.
An admirable effort, my learned friend.
Oh, damn, guys. Right, it wasn't him screaming objection, so he might have something even more evil up his sleeve that we haven't thought of. Of course, Zeke's always likes to throw a spanner in the works, but we will find out exactly what that spanner is shaped like next episode. So guys, unfortunately, it is time to leave it there. So, if you like the looks of any of the suggested videos flooding your screen at this very second, check some of them out, and more importantly, let me know what you thought.